Hello, hello. Anderson Oliveira here. This is the second DNN Summit 2018 talk. Today, I have a great group with me. We have some well-known faces and some new faces as well. And I would like to start by talking to Nancy Gaines. Nancy, welcome. Tell me a little bit about you and your background and what you're doing here with us on DNN, you know.
Hi, I'm Nancy Gaines. I'm here in Denver, Colorado, and I'm super excited to speak at DNN. I speak on soft skills and productivity, and my talk is all about when the business is from Venus and developers are from Mars, and how we can speak the same language to get the requirements and get the right product out the door.
Got it. Okay, so that's a great spin, Nancy, on John Gray's book. You know, the great title there. Now, when I saw the title, I was asking myself, are you talking about us talking to clients as technologists, talking to clients? Are you talking about internally into companies, different departments talking to each other and understanding each other? What are you referring to exactly here?
Great question. It's all of that. It's just how we talk to different people. Some people want us to get right to the point. Other people want to chit chat and see how your weekend is. So starting off by getting on common ground there, it's about eliminating jargon so the business can understand what you're trying to do. If you get all geeky and heady on them, they're going to like fade out and not give you what you really need. It's about sharing through drawings or demonstrations. So you don't have to just listen, you can use all the modalities. So all of that, so people can be a lot more productive and get right to the point and develop, which is what we all want to do.
Got it. So as I was saying at the beginning, I see new faces here, and to me, you are a new face here in this space. You are local to Denver. How did you come across DNN and DNN Summit and us in general, you know?
I was really fortunate. Typically, I travel all over the US or even outside the US to speak, and to find something in my hometown was just amazing. I use PaperCall, which is a great place. If you're a speaker and you're looking to get out there, it's got all the great places. It's easy to apply. You can reuse previous talks and tweak it so you're not starting from scratch, because I'm all about productivity. So PaperCall is a great resource. It's almost like Match.com for events looking for speakers.
Got it. Okay, great. I'm gonna get back to you in a second, but let me move on here to my other guests here. I'm gonna go to Will Strohl. Will, it's interesting that now whenever someone talks to me about e-commerce, the first face that comes to mind is your face. I don't know if this is good or bad, but it is the first face that comes to mind. So I had talked. Tell me a little bit about your session, and I have more specific questions. But actually, before that, for those that are living under a rock in the DNN space, tell me what you do, who you are, and how you qualify yourself to be talking about e-commerce here.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a crazy road, because like it wasn't like that not long ago, right? Like 4 years ago, you didn't think of Will Strohl for e-commerce. You just thought DNN, right? Will Strohl, founder and CEO of Up Endo Ventures. We do all kinds of DNN and hotcakes and e-commerce consulting. But yeah, I've been around DNN pretty much since the beginning. So I've been contributing all this time. But then about 4 years ago-ish, I took the helm at Hotcakes Commerce and was running that company and helping get the product out there and whatnot. And then a very exciting thing happened this year. We made it open source, right? So it's a lot more accessible to people. So, now all of our, kind of our mission of making things easier for all the stakeholders in the e-commerce project, we're going to bring that in a session towards the developer community with DNN at the DNN Summit this year.
Great, and the good thing about you not only you or the team not only has made it open source, but now it's really a module that can be installed as any other module on any DNN website. Correct? I mean, am I correct here?
That's absolutely correct. I don't like calling it a module because it kind of trivializes how much of a solution it is. But it's an accurate depiction of what it is. It is a module that can be installed into DNN, but we've always from day one, because it's always been that, we've always from day one marketed it as a full e-commerce solution or e-commerce CMS, because we never actually marketed it inside of the DNN community. We always marketed outside of it, right? And so from the outside looking in, it's an e-commerce CMS, right? So because you get all of that, because people like they look at Magento and stuff like that, and they're like, oh well, Magento has a CMS, but all it really has is that like page builder. Or like, I have a page, it has HTML, yay, you know.
I get it. I get it. Give me a number here, Will. How many, more or less, roughly? I mean, is that in the hundreds, in the dozens? How many e-commerce implementations have you worked on with as a part of, as the main driver of that? But how many e-commerce implementations have you worked with hotcakes?
Yeah, so that's a hard number to say, actually, because, you know, like running the company, you know, to talk to clients like every day, and every day it'd be a lot of clients. I mean, it has to be over 1,000 at this point, and just like being involved in doing, you know, suggestions, solution architecture, you know, doing some consulting here and there, and then especially now. So, I mean, it has to be around somewhere around there at this point.
Got it. I want to ask you one more before I move on to somebody else here. On a complexity level, whenever I hear e-commerce, and we may have touched that in previous conversations that we may have had, from a scale of 1 to 10, I would classify an e-commerce implementation as a 10 right there. And I'm not considering here, you know, custom coding, very complex integrations. I'm just considering, you know what, we have a website to put together and it has an e-commerce component to it. So usually I tend to classify that as, you know, in a high level of complexity. So just talk to me a little bit about the learning curve that someone would have to go through to get up and running with a tool like, you know, a platform like Hotcakes.
Yeah, I totally feel your pain around that, because before I joined Hotcakes and started running it, like I would avoid, like when I did projects, I would completely avoid e-commerce. I was always like, no, I just don't want to deal with all that. And then after like just like basically immersing myself in it, I was like, oh, well, this actually isn't that bad. You know, yeah, you have a whole new set of problems and whatnot, but it's actually a lot easier than people think. You know, people hear things like PCI compliance and then freak out. But it's actually a lot more easy than you think. But it's in terms of, you know, hotcakes and the complexity and buzzing, you know, that's part of the reason Hotcakes exists, right? So, you know, basically Hotcakes exists, the whole, what is it, the tagline is, we make e-commerce easier for everyone on your team, right? And that's really the goal, because there's 4 primary stakeholders for every e-commerce project, right? There's the customer. And so making it easier for the customer to get from point A to point B, right? Getting out of their way, allowing them to give you the money and then move on, right? Process their order. And then there's the merchants, you know, making it easier for merchants to be able to administrate the store, right? So, and then there's the developers, making sure that developers can implement the site using your, embracing your brand and not the other way around, right? You don't want to look like you're using a platform. You want to look like your brand, right? So you want to be able to move everything around. And then the developers, it's easier for them to implement and integrate systems into your e-commerce product, because at the end of the day, every single e-commerce project is completely unique. And so that's the reason Hotcakes exists, and the reason it is built the way it is today is to make everybody's lives easier.
No, I love the point A to point B. I love that. I'm gonna get back to you in a second, but let me move on to Don. Don, we have here as well, Don Gingold. I hope that I got this right, Don.
Yes,
Don, can you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your session?
Oh, certainly, happy to. Don Gingold, Sprocket Websites. We've been doing DNN sites for 9, 10 years. I think that's Sprocket itself is about just going on 8 years old. But Jim Nagy, my business partner, and I met at a Chamber of Commerce function. He had his business. He was doing DNN sites. I was looking for a better CMS than the CMS that I was using. And then the two of us started working on a few projects together. We liked working together, and we decided to merge our two businesses together and call it Sprocket. So we've been doing that now for all that time. We've been in the DNN sphere for quite a bit. Love hotcakes. We don't use hotcakes only because we don't have e-commerce sites. We have government
Scary
sites.
cats,
We have
another scary
a lot of
cat.
services. We have a lot of service industry sites. We have a lot of small sites, but we don't have any retail sites. And we also run the Chicago DNN user group. And when we do, we've had Will out to talk about hotcakes and love it. It's very cool. Looking forward to finding somebody that needs a retail site, and we'll put hotcakes on there. But in the meantime, what we have done is an awful lot of traffic generation to our customer sites by becoming experts in social media, email marketing, website optimization, and that whole thing. And so I'm going to be talking at the summit. I'm going to be talking about social media and driving people to the website, how social media still is not being done right. I'm going to be talking to folks who are website owners who are at the summit, as well as folks like us who are integrators or developers who build websites for people to help show how you can package all of it together and bring it to your client so that you can not only have a nice website, but you can have a lot of people see that website. Our tagline is we turn surfers into visitors, visitors into clients, and clients into advocates. And that's the whole process of starting way out in the people stumbling onto you at Facebook or on whatever other platform it is, and then seeing an interest that you have, that they have in what you're talking about, and then ultimately getting to your website, and then from there saying that, oh, I like what they're doing, I want to work with them, and then becoming a customer. So that's the talk that I'll be giving.
Okay, so I have a question here for you, Don. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and this guy has a local web development company, and he does a lot of, it's all DNN based, and he's trying to understand if it's really worth the time and effort for a small to, not mid-size, but usually small business, for a small business to be spending their time on social media, publishing stuff there. And he is having a hard time really justifying the time that it takes to do something proper on social media with the results that you might be getting out of that. So my question, my long-winded question here is, how do you, is it really worth the time for a small business owner to be doing stuff? And I'm just gonna make this blank statement, no, to be doing stuff on social media. Is it worth the time?
Good question. And it's almost a perfect plug for people like us, people that do the social media on behalf of that small business owner. Is it worth it? Yes, it is. We all remember the old Disney cartoon, Little Mermaid, right? Well, Ariel told us all way back when she wants to be where the people are. The people are all on social media. So you need to be out there where they are. That's like a small business owner staying in the basement and complaining about not getting any growth in their business. They have to go to Chamber of Commerce functions. They have to go to local businesses, ribbon cuttings and open houses and networking events, and they need to mingle and meet. Well, that's social media, because all people are out there at social media. And so, of course, it's like anything else. There's risk reward. There's a learning curve. You've got to figure out how to use the tool right. And that's what I'm talking about on in my session, is that they don't know how to use it right. And I'd like to give them some tips on how to do that. Now, clearly, a company like ours would do it for you, but the whole idea of the summit is giving back. So we're going to tell some of our secrets of how we do it, some best practices of what you should do, how to do it so that it's manageable, because it is an awful lot of work to learn how to use the tool right and then practice it almost constantly. Most corporations have teams of people now with social media, not just a social media manager, one person, and it's not just somebody they hire out of school because they can do it cheap. They're putting big dollars into social media, and rightly so, because they see the value of it. Look at all of your major brands. You'll see all of those brands on social media. You should be on there too. So that's what we'll be hoping to share at the summit, is some of those best practices. The key thing about it all is driving people back to your website. You've got this really cool DNN website that does all kinds of cool things, whether it provides really good information, articles, etc., or if it's a great hotcakes e-commerce site, you want to drive people back to the site so that they buy from you. And the best way to do that is to say something trending, something that's important to the people. Well, I call them your public, not the general public, but the people that might be interested in what you do. You drive them to your website by saying something interesting that's trending, something interesting that's pertinent to them, and that you're showing them that you have something worth saying. They'll come to your website to learn more about it. And of course, while they're there on the website, off on the sidebar is more information about you, branding, how to get your newsletter, how to get stay in touch with you. Here's the product of the week, click here to buy, all those things that's all about you. And we forget to do that. So we're sending people off to other people's websites when we post because we don't know how to drive them back to our own website. That's one of the key secrets that I'll be teaching. And of course, I don't want to teach too much because I want you all to come to the summit.
I'll come, Don. I want to see you.
Oh, good, good. Hey, I'm thinking the same thing too. I want to see your session as well, Nancy.
Don, I will get back to you in a second, but when I go around again, I'd like to talk about results. Let's go to the bottom line here and talk about results. But again, in a bit. Ryan, it's with you now. Give me your intro spiel there.
More Creative Company is celebrating its 20th year of being in business. My wife and I started as a graphic design business a long time back, and over time we've become a web design and development company. With DNN, we focused early on in 2002, I think, with some of our first DNN sites. In 2010, we decided to really push away all other CMSs and all other platforms that we could work in and become a dedicated DNN shop. That went along with getting connected with and helping support our local Charlotte area DNN user group, which is now known as Southern Fried DNN user group. And that's not just for Charlotte or the South in general, it's for everybody. So tonight happens to be a DNN user group meeting for Southern Fried. So if you haven't already heard the information about that, be sure to come check us out tonight. If you're watching this later on, come check us out third Thursday of every month. More Creative Company, primarily we are DNN integrators. We work hard with other people's data and other people's systems to integrate and bring things into DNN. So while we are doing smaller, one-off traditional DNN sites, often we're working to incorporate SharePoint and other external data into DNN and making that seamless with the tools that we're putting together. We work with and love hotcakes, so I'll give Will another shout out there for hotcakes. And when you mentioned sites, numbers of sites that he's helped work in, even if you were just counting my own, those are ones to add into the list, because Will's pretty integral in helping people, even if it's just tech support here and there, or especially when it's tech support here and there. Our sessions, a couple of different sessions that I have here this, sorry, hold on a second. A couple of different sessions that I have here for DNN Summit, and they really are all connected together. Yep. In that last year's session, we had a security session about hacked what now, and that was kind of a roundtable with Mark and Mitch and myself, really answering questions and talking in general about our experiences. And the two sessions that I have here for DNN Summit 2018 really relate out of that. So if you go to the hacked what now session that is going to also happen here at this year's summit, then my session is kind of a next step after that. We're going to go through practical steps. So this is a DNN security tips, tricks, and steps to take when you have been hacked or you fear that you have been. It's a bullet point list of things to do in order when you feel like there's been a security breach or you bring up your site and you see a hack message. So, Edison?
Let me ask you a question. Again, you're going to be talking a lot about. There's also a session about the different versions of DNN. Is that one of those as well, or that's
the second session? Yeah, they're kind of related in that people talked about different versions of DNN, what to be concerned with in different versions of DNN. But at the same time, talking with folks at the conference, some people have never seen what DNN 4 looked like or what DNN 5 looked like and how the control panel was different from one to the other. And when I'm doing training sessions, I'll often find out what version people are working in and then train in that version. And that was kind of the idea for the for that session. So we're going to basically spin up a copy. If I can get an iBuySpy running, I'll start there. But I'm planning to basically run DNN 3 through DNN 9 and spend some time in each version talking about them, talking about the highest level of stable version, some of the security and benefits and ideas there. One of the things that I believe as a DNN integrator, we don't always get to choose what server environment our clients are running. And I had to the other day install a DNN 4.9 instance, and that was the highest version that customer could run on the particular server that they had running. And so we did our best with DNN 4.9, and it's a fantastic site because DNN 4.9 is also fantastic. So we're going to go through different DNN versions and talk about them. And if you're new to DNN, it'll be great for you to see some of that history and hear about that. And if you are working in newer versions of DNN, we'll also be sure to speak about the highest versions to get up to, some of the things to watch out, things like that.
Got it. Let me just ask you this. As you know, a security expert on DNN, what is usually the low-hanging fruit that you see that's a very common problem, a common mistake that people do quite frequently when they are putting a DNN website together? What is usually that low-hanging fruit that could be fixed very easily, very quickly, or maybe there is no such a thing, but what would be one thing like that if there's such thing?
Sure. I'll give you three of those really quick. First off, within a DNN version, if you're not on the top stable version of DNN for that, that's an easy, quick thing that you can do. I run across sites often enough that are running DNN 7.0, 7.0.2, something like that, and just getting them first off up to 7.4 is a thing that can help you be a little bit more confident that you're in good shape. Next, number two after that is running the recent security hotfixes and patches. In that there are Telerik-related DLLs that are important to update. And whereas last summer when we were talking about this, there were only updates for a certain version of DNN, or you had to be very careful and kind of do your own updates, there are now some pretty straightforward updates for older versions of DNN and newer versions of DNN for that. And that's kind of a number two thing that I would tackle. And then number three after that is some basic updates to the install folder and what you have when you're running your DNN instance. And there are 2 or 3 different tools that you're able to use and different methods to go through. And we're going to go through that in the security related section. Awesome. Hacked What's Now is a roundtable talking about ideas and approach and what you should be concerned with. Really, when you leave my security session, you should have in hand a list of tools to use, actions to take, and what they look like. So it's going to be much more hands-on list of things to do.
Got it. And at some point, I want to quickly ask you about your full day session as well, but not now. Let's leave that for the next round around. Nancy, let me get back to you here. I'm not forgetting you, okay, Nancy? Nancy, let me ask you this. Why people messed up in communication so frequently, and even going beyond, I'm talking techie and the other side doesn't understand tech, why it's such a fundamental piece of doing business. So why people communicate so poorly in general?
In general, it's because they don't listen. People are always thinking, what should I say next? And then they're not paying attention. They're not being present and listening to what the customer is. And the customer could be a business customer. It could be a colleague. It could be a different department in your company. So when I'm not speaking, I'm a business productivity coach, a business coach. I help people improve their sales, their systems, their strategy, their success. And the number one thing is people don't pay attention to what's going on. For example, I ordered something from somebody I met 2 days ago and expected like a thank you note. Just, hey, thanks for your order. Nothing. Like people just aren't really paying attention to other people. So we're going to fix that in my session about communication.
Got it. Okay. So listening. Actually, that's something that I quite frequently have to practice when I'm talking like this. I have to be present to listen to you, but at the same time I have an agenda to cover. So how I understand that this might be a very complex topic, but how do you break the pattern of not listening and being more present here? Again, I know that this is a topic that might be going on for hours here, but what is one thing that could help me, somebody else out there, to break the pattern of, okay, let me listen more, let me take in more, so I can provide, I can communicate better, I can get my point across better because I understand the other side. So how can we start breaking that pattern?
The number one thing to do is stop multitasking. And that's tricky because in this world, we have something called infobesity. There's information everywhere and everyone is looking for our attention at the same time. If you could just single task and do the one thing at a time, it's going to make a huge difference in everything, not just your communication.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of FOMO, which is, the acronym. There's an acronym for everything. It's a fear of missing out. And that's that constant bombarding that we get from newsletters, from notice about this, notice about that. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I tried to work on those things, but I wouldn't say that I'm that successful. So again, what is it? What is the one thing that you want to accomplish with your session? I mean, people come in, it's a business-oriented session. What is the one thing that you want to accomplish within your 50 minutes to an hour session?
I want people to be able to talk to each other better, but let me also help you be more productive. Number one thing, unsubscribe. Just stop, say no to all the email that you're getting, because then you won't keep getting interrupted by that. So unsubscribe. Stop multitasking and just do one thing at a time. My favorite saying is done is better than none. So in my session, it's going to be really fun. We've got these sticky notes of different colors that you're going to put in a certain order. So when you walk up to another person and some of the exercises, you're going to know exactly how to communicate to them and get your point across in so much less time. So just a little teaser, we're going to have colored sticky notes. So make sure you come to my session if you want some fun.
I'm a big fan of not multitasking, and there is a method that I use, and I don't know if you have ever heard of this one here. And the guys that have heard me talking about that, I mean, I love that. Pomodoro, which is called Pomodoro. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
I have. I've taken it a little bit. Instead of 25-5, you work 25 minutes, you take 5 off. I do 50-10.
Okay.
So you go on a sprint for 50 minutes on one task, you get it done, and you take a mandatory 10-minute break. Even if you're in the groove, like I know developers are heads down and they're feeling this energy, you got to break because you'll be more productive after that 10 minutes. So whether it's 25-5, 50-10, you got to take a break. Give your brain a chance to recharge.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times that has helped me. Whenever, even if I'm not coding, I mean, I really try to police myself to give that 5 minutes break, because I come back with a fresh set of eyes. And what people are usually concerned about is that, oh, I'm gonna lose the train of thought
Right.
there. But it's not really what happens, it works fantastic. I mean, it's fantastic to me. I have been doing that for 2 years now. Anyway, enough of me. It's about you guys.
Hey, Anderson.
Yes.
Didn't you teach that technique at Baltimore? I
Yes,
think you
I did.
That
I did
was,
the
I was
presentation
like,
on
It
that
was
one.
an
Yes,
Ignite session, wasn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
it was in Ignite. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, it was.
It
It was
worked.
about 2 years ago.
it
Yeah.
works. Yeah, it does.
Let me
I
tell you,
started doing it
I
after
have
that
I have a little device here. I mean, it's hard for me to show, but it works like a charm for me. At the end of my day, I'm not exhausted. I can take another few hours. Again, works very well. But again, enough of me here. Will, let me get back to you. A similar question to what I had asked Ryan. What is it that people do wrong when they are one thing that they do wrong when they are doing an e-commerce implementation?
Sure, but first of all, we should have like began this by saying like, there's a drinking game. Every time somebody says hotcakes, take a shot.
I have mine.
But anyhow, yeah, I like branding. Well done, well done. Yeah, so I submitted a session for personal branding, but it did not get in, unfortunately. So, but yeah, so the one thing that people get wrong, actually, as surprising as this may sound to people, it's not properly planning ahead of time. They just say, okay, I want to sell things, and like let's just go forward. Instead of trying to figure out, like, when I sell to people, my target customer is this type of person, and this is how I need to sell to them, right? And people just don't take the time to figure out, like, that is part of the problem. The other part of the problem is I have a brand, and so I want people to perceive my brand a certain way, and so I need to sell a certain way because of that as well. So most of the companies I come across these days, they can't even articulate what their brand is and how they're supposed to talk to people and who their target customer is. They'll say things like, hey, I just sell to anybody who wants to buy the t-shirt or whatever the thing is that they're selling. And that's just not right. You have a target customer. You can't cast that net across the world and expect to get results. You have to target and know what your target is. And just like a hunter, the hunter uses the right weapon for the right type of hunting. That's what you're doing when you're doing e-commerce. You're going and you're trying to get your customer, and you need to have a plan to do that. You can't just say, let's just do it.
You know what? I mean, you're talking about beyond e-commerce, you're talking about strategic thinking as well. And in a way, I go back to, and as I said that before, that whenever I think of e-commerce, I think of you. So again, you are branding yourself out there like that. So yeah, just side note here. Let me ask you this: what is exciting now in the e-commerce space in general? Go beyond DNN. Because e-commerce is going on the web forever now. I mean, it's technology has been evolving, but e-commerce has, at least as far as I can see, from 97, 98, it was always there. So what is exciting now in the e-commerce space?
I think the thing that I'm seeing that's the most exciting to me is people getting a little bit more bold. And what I mean by that is there's a lot more experiments happening, people trying new things, people integrating techniques and patterns and technologies from what people used to think are other spaces. Because for me, I look at every single website as being an e-commerce website, because no matter what the website is, you may not be taking money, but you're selling something. You're selling yourself, you're selling a message, you're selling a newsletter, you're selling something, you're selling your brand. And so whenever we do things, like, I always approach every single website from that perspective. At some point, you're selling something. And so seeing a lot of these companies, like, integrating new things that they never thought they were going to integrate, or, trying new techniques that they've seen other types of organizations do, or even translating techniques that are occurring offline and bringing them online. Those are a lot of cool things I've been enjoying seeing over the past year.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Let me move on here to Don. Don, as I said last time, when we were talking before, I would like to ask you about results. What kind of results? I mean, if you are able to share, if you're able to provide something like that, if you have some info at this point, what kind of results have you been able to provide to one of your clients that you have worked with in terms of social media, social media presence, social media engagement? What kind of results have you driven there?
I got two brief examples for you. The first one is a pool construction manufacturer out in California. As you know, I don't think I said that earlier. I'm one of the founders of the Chicago DNN users group. So I'm here in Chicagoland. But Jim, my business partner, the other side of Sprocket, is out in California. And so he met somebody out there that was a pool construction manufacturer. We did social media for them. They were so happy with the results. They received many different jobs from the social media, from that work. Their phones, the quote we have, in fact, I put it up on the website because they were so excited about it, and we were very happy as well, is that his phone is ringing off the hook, and it's even outside of pool construction season. So he's very happy with the kind of results. And of course, he's got very big ticket items. I mean, it costs an awful lot of money to put a pool in, especially in that area where you're putting this beautiful indoor, or rather in-ground pool in the back of these $1 million homes. So they're big ticket items that they're selling. And so he's very happy in getting business from that. I'll take it down to a very small size, a second example, and that is a local theater company. We took over their social media. Well, we took over promoting them, basically. They were doing very, very little promotion. As actors and producers and stage crew people, they really weren't thinking enough about just publicizing the fact that they've got some great plays and musicals that they were doing. So we took over that, and we doubled their sales last year, their ticket sales last year, because of social media. And they were considering not continuing on after that season, and now they're very happy and moving forward. They're doing more stuff with branding. They came up with a new logo. We helped them come up with a new logo, all of that stuff. So two simple, mostly qualifications, not quantifications.
Okay.
But yeah, there you go. There's definitely lots to be said for getting out there in the world and letting people know about you.
Got it. Okay, so you mentioned two. You mentioned a pool construction company and a theater. Can you give me, and you don't need to go into too many details, but just give me one thing that you and your team have done for each one of those. Give me just one thing that is social related, a high level strategy that you have used for the pool and for the theater.
Okay. The best technique for the pool is the before and after. You look at the backyard and you see maybe they had an old pool from the 60s or 70s or something where old tiles and things like that. And now they had this gorgeous spa with a waterfall and all that. And so before and after pictures is a great technique. And it really electrified the people that were in the community saying, gosh, I want a backyard like that now. And they related to the bad looking pool because they kind of have that pool. And they now would love to have this new pool and to see the results with their eyes. And that, of course, applies great to most of the platforms that are on social media platforms out there, like an Instagram, like a Facebook, et cetera. So that's the one technique for them. With the theater, it's just a matter of showing video clips of their performances. Because if you hear somebody belting out, they did Jesus Christ Superstar as an example. To hear somebody, the guy who played Jesus in that show, belting out one of the songs that are the really powerful ballad numbers in that song, and you say, wow, that's fantastic. That's community theater. I had no idea. I want to go to see this. So video was a great thing for them.
Before I move on, I just have one more point there. Is part of the social strategy the paid advertisement in social as well? Is that part of is that one component, or are we just talking about quote unquote, free posting?
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's certainly organic, and we do an awful lot of organic, but yeah, there's also paid. And for multiple platforms, and I guess because of brevity and all, I just talk about Facebook. Facebook advertising helps you really focus on your target market, your demographics, your age, your gender, income, interests, all kinds of things. And of course, regionally, that's a key thing for both of those examples and most of the companies that we work with. Many of them need to get to the person, like, in Will's situation where anybody nationally or internationally can buy a product by going to a website. These folks, they need to get local to use the service. Whether, somebody has to drive trucks and cranes out to put a pool in, that's going to be local. Going to a theater, obviously, is local. So being able to regionally focus your advertising on that specific area, and then set the age, and you can do your messaging per age or per gender. Very, very powerful. And then, of course, you're hitting there's a whole bunch of other techniques I won't spend all the time now, but they're all there with advertising.
Awesome, great. Thank you for that. So, Ryan, your turn here. Let's talk a little bit for a second about your full day session. Actually, you are my competitor. You are competition to me, because we are going after the same audience there, So I'm doing the full day administration, and you are doing the full day what? What is it? Tell me.
Editor. So there are, so another thing that I'm helping manage and organize for DNN Summit is the training sessions. There's a full day of training before the main core of the conference begins. So we have 2 days of speakers and sessions this year, but that first day before that is training sessions. And there are training sessions that are traditional and popular. We have, a development training session that is about module development. We have a theming and skinning training session, which again is for designers and developers to really get in the weeds there in deep with those details. Addison, your session is an administration session, and it is for administrators, people who find themselves managing DNN. Maybe they've inherited a DNN website, maybe they're in a government job and they've changed positions, and now they find they are the administrators of a DNN website. They are not the host users, they're not working on the servers, but they are adding and managing users. They are needing to understand interactions of modules and when things are wrong, and they are the DNN administrators. And that is a need that is there, and I would say is the primary need for users who are coming in to DNN Summit who maybe haven't been to a DNN conference before. If you're in that position as a DNN administrator, you should be in Addison's session. There's another session that I'm running, which is the introduction to DNN, and I will kind of describe that as being for DNN editors, content managers, people who are needing an introduction because, again, they might be coming along with their DNN administrator. There might be 2 or 3 people in a scenario where one person's the DNN admin and they're the head of marketing for a department, but they have 2 people who are coming in to simply do content editing and management of DNN, and they need to understand what is DNN. They've used other CMS systems before, and they need to understand the differences. They need to understand the ins and outs of the HTML module and really go in depth in working in the HTML module, but they're not going to get into creating users. They're not going to get into kind of higher end admin tasks. They're editing pages rather than creating brand new pages. That's really the target market there. So if you find that there are a few in your class who feel like they're overwhelmed, pass them over to mine. If I'm talking in my course and it's really too slow for them, I need to boot them over into the admin section.
Of course, I'm not serious about that. You know that.
I know.
I have a question that it's one off here that I put aside. I said let me see what Ryan has to say about this one here. This is about Evoke, and one of your sessions is about the different versions of DNN, and Evoke is a version, and we have the the core platform. Aside from having a budget, because you do have to have a slightly higher budget to go with Evoke, what would be some other reasons why someone, a company, an organization would opt to go with Evoke as compared to the platform?
That can be a point of information that we run through in the session, in that there are obviously a history of DNN versions, but if you're just talking about the newest level of platform, you've got Evoke, and then you've got Community Edition. Really, for me, hands down, there's no question, when you get to a certain size of website and you have a certain size of technology behind that, your web farm instance, where you have multiple servers running DNN on it, Evoke is built to handle that and run that in a much better way than the Community Edition. it's built out with the tools that are going to be responsible for handling that well. So there are technical reasons why. And if someone comes in and says, which version do I need? There's kind of a list of things you can run through and talk about with them to understand what type of situation they have with their own internal IT department, the type of resources and support they have. If they don't have that internal resource and support, and they really need a CMS that has a partner that's behind them running that, they can obviously connect with other types of DNN integrators like us that are out there. But at the same time, they can run in Evoke. They've got technical reasons to be there. They've got support and management reasons to be there too. So there's a good bit of that we'll run through.
Awesome. I want to open up if anyone wants to cross-reference each other. I mean, if you want to ask questions to each other, I'm gonna give you a few seconds here.
Oh, I got something. First of all, I wanted to make sure that Nancy, you're gonna have orange sticky notes for both Will and I. Because Ecommerce is orange, right? Is X-Pro, does that have orange?
Orange, yeah.
There you go. So all of us need orange tabs. So I hope you have orange tabs.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And then, of course, Will, we all should to remember that Will started these things, these summit things, these day ofs, way back in the day with Day of DNN in Orlando, right? Is that where you did the first one?
Yeah, the first one I did was it was called Day of DNN, or actually Day of .NET Nuke. We later branded as Day of DNN, and then it was DNN Con, and now it's DNN Summit. So I gave up the helm for DNN Summit, I think 2 years ago, something like that. And so that all of you organizers.
Well, I think we were in there after you did the DNN, Day of DNN there, Day of DNN in Chicago.
Yeah. So basically let's try to franchise it out there, and it's been all over the world, literally. Like, it's been in Paris. That was back in 2009 was the first one. It was very, very fun, and I did it blind. I had never done an event before, and I had no idea if anybody's going to show up. And we literally packed this whole Microsoft office of people, like it was shoulder to shoulder in there, and all kinds of sessions. People came from all over the world, quite literally, and I think we had like 250 people at the first one. It was awesome.
Wow. Hotcakes to Will.
No shot.
Very good. Again, Will, I mean, great point, Don. Thank you very much for bringing that up. And again, we are here in part because of what you have started a few years ago. So great stuff.
Shucks.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with a last round of points here. Nancy, if you can take a few seconds here to finish selling your session. Why is that someone should go to yours, not to Don's? I mean, tell me.
You should definitely go to everybody's session that you can, but come to mine because I'm passionate about productivity. Communication is part of productivity. I want you to have more time in your day, time to do what you want to do after hours, while you're at work, in business, because time matters. Come to my session.
Awesome. Well, developing with Hotcakes Commerce 3.0, what is the one thing that you want people to leave that session knowing about Hotcakes?
So actually, it's I approach all of my sessions using one word: inspired, right? And so I always want to inspire people to try something new or try something different, take some risk. And so with the developing of Hotcakes Commerce, it's getting over that kind of hump of like, oh my God, it's e-commerce, right? Like e-commerce, any site can possibly be e-commerce because you have a catalog of things, right? And you need to take it through a process. So there's plenty of e-commerce sites that they don't take a dime, right? They just like show you my products and then click to learn more, and you go to a form, and a salesperson calls you back, right? So it's just getting over the hump of just being scared of trying it, and just knowing that there's a path, there's commercial support, there's community support, there's documentation. You have a whole entire community of people that's ready to sit there and support you in your e-commerce needs.
Awesome. We're gonna jump to Don. Don, how to tell your client's story using social media in 2018? What is the one point that you want to drive home for people?
I have a phrase: go through, not to. And it goes along with the point I made earlier about how we just still don't know how to do social media right. We think that, There's an interesting bit of news out there in my industry at XYZ Magazine website. So let's just send them all over to XYZ Magazine website. When in fact, what you really should do is you should say something on your website about how great this article is at XYZ website, and then send them to your website to show them. Because once they're there, then they now see all of your branding, they see all of your other things that you do, your services, your products, and all of that. So the one thing I want to make sure that everyone understands is through, not to.
Love that point. Love that point. Ryan, we have 3 points here. I want to cover each one of your sessions there. Let me get the first one right here. DNN versions, what's the difference? What is the one thing you want to drive there?
If you're new to DNN, come spend some time learning about different DNN versions and what they had to offer and have to offer now in modern different versions. And if you obviously manage multiple different websites with different DNN versions, come and we'll talk about benefits of each and where you need to take each to be in good shape.
Awesome. Hacked what now? What's that one thing?
Now, Hacked What Now is Mark Saunders' session, and that one is an open roundtable discussion about security concerns. Bring your questions, bring your real-life examples. Everyone who's there will also be participating and sharing theirs. I believe Mitch and myself and Mark will all be pitching in with real-life examples in that roundtable discussion.
Ryan, what is the one thing on DNN security tools, tips, and action?
Right. So this security session is going to have you leave with a bullet point list that I hope you never have to use. Hopefully you're never going to get hacked because you're already keeping your DNN instance in good shape. But it happens to everyone, and there are multiple reasons that it can happen. So this session is going to go through a list of steps to take, what order to take those in, because that's important, and things to look for as you go through investigating after you realize that there's been a data breach or that you've been hacked.
Awesome. And to finalize your full day session, what is the one thing that you want to drive on your full day session of training?
So the full day session of training is Introduction to DNN for DNN editors. Come and we'll spend time running through how to manage the basics. You should leave being able to take ownership of your DNN website and be confident going in to make edits and changes, make sure that you can undo if you make mistakes, and really feeling confident about managing your content and, like I say, taking ownership of the site that you manage.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so that's about it. If anyone has anything else to say, please go ahead. This is the time. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that. I hope that you guys get excited to, join those sessions, enjoy DNN Summit. And that's it. I'll see you on the third DNN Summit 2018 talk. Bye now.